Imagine a world where gods once shaped the destinies of mortals, where the people were once united under the leadership of allied kingdoms, and where peace was not only possible, but present.
Now, imagine that world shattered, the gods gone, the kingdoms on the verge of war, and power free for the taking to anyone willing to claim it.
The world of Aer'yndor will never be the same, and whether for the better or worse has yet to be decided.
Welcome back to our podcast, Tabling the Narrative, where we bring stories to the table for in-depth discussions and detailed play-by-plays of everything you want to know. Sponsored by World Anvil. We're your hosts. I'm Jen.
And I'm Sage. And today we are introducing our new Daggerheart actual play campaign, Oathfyre, with a little help from the cast and our GM Ghost, the man behind Ghostlight Digital Studios and Group Action Roll.
Stay tuned to learn how the Shattered God campaign set the stage for Oathfyre, how the world of Aer'yndor has changed, and what that means for our characters, all of us, the story. Oh, and we're introducing a brand new segment, Roll the Dice, where we try to predict what's coming up next for our characters.
So first, let's ask Ghost a few of our burning questions. Get it? Burning. Here is Under the Table with Oathfyre's GM, Ghost. Welcome back to Tabling the Narrative, Ghost. We have a few questions for you regarding Oathfyre. I'm really excited to see what you have to say. So my first question is, you mentioned in the very beginning of our preparations for Oathfyre, and you did also mention this in session 0, that this series is going to be with a noir type theme to it, which includes, of course, the politics, just kind of like investigating the mysteries going on here. How does this type of theme shape Oathfyre as a campaign, especially since Oathfyre is very fantasy based?
Well, first off, thank you for having me back. Always great to see you both. This is a great question, and it's tough to answer because in our previous conversation, I had mentioned that, some of the things I hope to do in this series, for example, one of the things is to hold the fiction less tightly, less close to me. So like me wanting to have a little bit more of a localized story where, they have more of that noir feel. That's certainly how I'm presenting it. But if that's not where the players choose to take it, that's also up to them. So I think that there's in my mind, there are entry points. So we have two teams of 5, 10 players total. Each team is presented with the opportunity to dive into the mystery of what's going on. So how this is going to shape this campaign as a whole, I don't entirely know, to be honest with you. In my mind, I like the idea of the choice, you're presented with this mystery, this confrontation, and you either choose to go down the rabbit hole or just bash your way out. You know what I mean? So did I answer your question?
Yeah. No, you really did. No, I think we talked about this the last time we had you as well. Which is that a lot of this is up to our choices as players. But I'm also really excited to see the differences in what Team 1 and Team 2 kind of figure out, because we're totally different dynamics.
Both groups are very different. They definitely have different dynamics. They both seem to know each other pretty well, which is nice.
I'm wondering, how did you come up with the base for Oathfyre? Did you already know, like, for example, that Scarenthal and the pack were going to be involved following the Shattered God?
I mean, not at the time of the Shattered God, right? Like, I knew at the start of the Shattered God that Lunesh was going to fall. But, the focus of that series wasn't really the pack or, what's going on with the kingdoms. It really was that more, divine crisis, right? I knew I wanted a smaller story. I wanted it to deal with, the kingdoms interacting with one another, this more personal feeling story, not so big in scope. But again, I didn't know about all the world shattering at the time and being put back together again, and people disappearing and reappearing, just all the craziness that you left the world in when you all finished the first series.
So, Ghosh, you bring up some pretty good points. And in the archive, which is coming up next after this Under the Table segment, we are going to be talking a little bit more about the kingdoms who are actually attending the Accords at Scarenthal to discuss the pact and possibly reforming it. One of the characters in The Shattered God is actually present at the pacts, which is, of course, King Throg and his elven queen. And this makes me wonder, if we're questioning already, what does it mean to give up your divinity? What is it? I mean, to me, it's like, what does it even mean to be a living god? We're also going to, mention that most of the gods at this time, right, are living gods. And my curiosity is just like, what do you think about that? What can you tell us about that?
Only as much as I know, I guess. For me, like, I always feel like I'm supposed to have the answer, and I don't, because so much of this is like all of y'all's minds that I don't feel like it's my right to say what's going on with like what's happening with Elam and where they are. But keeping to the rules that you all made at the end of the Shattered God, not interfering with mortals unless absolutely necessary. Like, what does that mean exactly? And what's interfering? Like, are you all just keeping to your divine corners of the world? Are you interacting like someone like Throg? He's not going to really feel like those rules apply to him because he laid down his divinity. At least as far as he knows, he put it all into his helm and then set that down.
Yeah.
But like someone like Oleg who walked away, like he's not looking to interfere in anything. He's just trying to live his life and find some peace. When it comes to the living gods, there are some things that I have planned that I'm not going to tell you about. But I think it'll be fun to play, because there are some questions about like who knows what, who's worshiping who wants things to be known. As we have all of this mix up happening after the Shattered God. So there'll be some fun to be had for sure. One of the things I'm really looking forward to that we're doing in the Shattered God, there's so many NPCs in that one scene of everybody coming to Scarenthal and in the Imperium chambers and having everyone interact with one another, that, I was like, well, I don't want to sit there and do like 12 different voices. So I asked all of the players who weren't going to be in that scene to take on one of the various members.
All right, so I just have a couple more questions for you. Is there anything about Oathfyre that you haven't shared yet, either to like us as players or to our audience here, that you can actually tell us now? Anything that, you haven't told us?
Secrets.
Doesn't have to be secrets. It could just be like little details.
There are certainly things about Oathfyre that I haven't told you, but stuff that I can tell you now. I'll tell you this, that what's happening, what starts to happen in the first session isn't the whole story, which I feel like is obvious.
It's not.
So you're set within Oathfyre, you are set on a path, and the motivation for that path is likely not what it seems.
This makes me curious about something that you mentioned about Zahareth and a door being opened, something about a temple, things getting unleashed. Something kind of coming out, some spooky stuff happening. Is this perhaps related to what you just said? I know you can't give me that answer, but
it could be, or it could just be a red herring.
Right. It's what you like talking about that and what you mentioned before, and just in general what this series looks like to me, and just what I know from the very beginning of of episode 1 of Oathfyre. I'm very interested because I don't think I have played in a campaign or a series or a one shot of this type. I guess we'll have to see if it's like what I'm thinking that it's going to be or not. But I think it's going to be different than other campaigns I've played for sure.
I mean, I hope that it's my only real goal is to make it different than the last one in some way. But I also, again, I don't want to control the narrative too much. I want you all to explore it in the way that you want to. And if that means that it goes, we end up doing dungeon crawls and, then that's what we're going to do. And I think that just, as we start off I would say the first session, you're both together. The second 2 sessions, each team is separate. I feel like by the time we finish that second session for each, we're going to have a pretty good idea of what each team wants to do. And again, like a lot of you all have backstories that could potentially push you into other parts of the world. So even though I might want that story to stay small, there's certainly the possibility for that not to be the case for this. The mystery will be what it is. You all have the option to be like, you know what?
Oh no.
Let's go do this other thing.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just getting more and more excited, which brings me to my last question for you personally, Ghost. What are you looking forward to the most about this campaign? I know we've talked a lot about, this being very, like the narrative just being written by a lot, the characters and our choices as players and our characters' choices, obviously. We've talked a little bit about some things. But yeah, I'm just wondering what you personally are looking forward to about the campaign, about GMing. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to it because it's been so long. I'm always like, God, can I still remember how to do this? I'm also like, I'm really looking forward to, we have so many players and we're doing this weekly this time around. So having those interactions week after week and having all these different perspectives, one of the things I'm really interested to see is how your stories reconnect. So, I mean, do they separate, I guess, is first off. And there is a point that you are pushed on your separate paths and you will take those paths where you take them. How much interaction the players will have from one team to the next is something I'm really interested about. And like where you choose to place your focus, I think is another really interesting thing for me, because I don't know where the story is going to go because that's something you're driving. But I'm really, really excited to see what you do with it.
All right. So my questions are really about Drakarn.
Okay.
Most of them are, and like how it's going to be. I don't know how long most of us have been there. I know that it was different for each person. Like you said, that they could decide whatever they wanted. They could have grown up there. I was curious about a few different things. So in Drakarn, with the new gods and everything, is there like a deity that they kind of believe in or worship more than others? So it's not like a spoiler, but kind of setting the stage.
And I wouldn't think that this was a spoiler either. It's a really interesting question because with the big changeover of the gods, like what do they value from a religious standpoint? I always kind of felt like the Drakarnian folk, I guess. I mean, they definitely lean into like the arcane. Like Xerix was probably one that they worshipped. I'm sure many of them still probably do. one of the key factors or key characteristics of the people themselves is they feel like they are very old people. One of the things that are deeply rooted in their culture is they believe they were the first mortals to walk in Aer'yndor. And so that there are factions of the Drakarn that feel superior to the other kingdoms and the other races and species on Aer'yndor because of that fact. That was something that was deeply rooted in their culture that has slowly sort of grown away. Like they've become a little bit more open-minded now that 20 years ago when things were happening, they took in a lot of the gnomes and they had this partnership, and that partnership has really been so fruitful for them, especially in Scarenthal, where they have all this melding of machinery and magic, and they have these wondrous things that happen. It's not the city of light, the city of crystal like Lunesrid. It's just got this whole other vibe where it's technologically advanced, and that has advanced civilizations, advanced education. So I feel like as those things have advanced technologically and just like their general education there has advanced, they're probably relying less on the gods, probably in part because they're becoming less reliant on magic, and because the changeover of the gods, they probably just haven't fully invested in the new god of Arcana.
You actually touched base on so many different little things I was going to ask you. For example, or one of them would be, so criminals in this area, is it like a safe area? Are crime rates high? What do they do with criminals? That kind of general vibe within.
Yeah. So you have the Imperium Marshals that are the police force for the greater Dracona. I didn't know if I had city. I think there are like city marshals probably, but they're all kind of part of the same group. So they police and they do a really good job. Like they're a pretty strict force. They have advanced weaponry. They have weaponry that isn't commonly seen in other places of the world. But there's certainly crime. This capital is built out of this volcano. It's been dormant for a very, very long time, but it's built in levels and layers. And as you go up and get higher, it becomes more and more advanced because all of the old infrastructure is down low, and they have just been building higher and higher. So when you get down to the lower levels, like the lower district, the docks, you probably have a lot more of that old brickwork, old architecture, and you have a lot more. That's sort of where the more impoverished part of their civilization lives. And I think you still see a bit of crime down there. What happens to people when they are arrested? I don't know entirely, but given the total authoritarianism historically of that region and how everything has been built up, I imagine that there is something very old and vast underneath the bottom layers that act as a dungeon. And I'm sure that they are probably not very kind to those they have deemed guilty of a crime.
You mean they don't get 3 meals a day and TVs?
I don't think so. I don't know that they get any meals. And so if you go into this, I would do my best to just not be accused of a crime.
Note to self, don't do crime. Not here.
You don't do crime. Don't get accused of a crime.
Don't get,
right.
Just don't,
you can do crime, but don't get accused. And if you don't do
accused.
crime, still don't get accused.
Yeah. Just don't get caught. All right. Well, thank you for having me. Keep up the good work. Love what you guys are doing.
Cool.
Okay, bye.
It was good to see you.
Bye.
Okay,
It
bye.
was good to see you.
In our previous campaign, The Shattered God, our decisions as players not only helped form the narrative, but also entirely changed the world of Aer'yndor.
Ghost made it pretty clear that Oathfyre will be the same. And I'm excited to see what we all do with the story.
So am I. But before we can change the world, we do need to know the world that we're changing. So let's go ahead and jump into the archive to see the current state of Aer'yndor. And of course, the story that Ghost is throwing us all into. The shattering completely and wholly changed the world of Aer'yndor, and everything within the Shattered God as a campaign set the stage here for Oathfyre.
Following the Shattered God, only 35% of the shattered souls that Echo tried to send back to the mortal world actually returned. So many families, bloodlines, and entire cultures were just wiped out.
During the shattering, some gods fell, some gods rose, like our heroes in the Shattered God series. And let's also make sure to mention Dar's decision at the end of the Shattered God that the gods can no longer interfere directly with the mortal realm, which we did talk about in previous episodes. It is important to note, though, that most of the new gods are living gods that exist in the world in some form, like Throg, for example, who became king alongside the Elven Queen. We'll talk a little bit more about that later.
So 20 years later, that leaves us with a divided world warring for power.
At the start of Oathfyre, the whole world is asking, who has the right to govern? Who enforces peace? And we're asking, who holds the world together when divinity falls?
That leads us to the Pact of Aer'yndor. The original pact was forged in the binding magic of Oathfyre by the oldest kingdoms of Aer'yndor. It was meant to prevent large-scale war, and it pretty much worked until the Shattering. When Lunesra and the Council of Seven fell in the Shattering, the ancient magic binding that pact broke. The divine magic protecting Aer'yndor from war is gone.
As a result, the kingdoms of Aer'yndor started vying for power. We're talking border disputes, old grudges, kingdoms expanding, and power grabs wherever possible. In the very first episode of Oathfyre, our characters find themselves in Scarenthal in Drakarn, where the Accords to discuss reforming the pact has been called. Most kingdoms are attending the Accords, so let's get into those real quick.
Keep in mind that Drakarn was largely untouched by the Shattering, so they have an advantage over all the other kingdoms here. They're highly technologically advanced with the arcane magics mixed in there, things like airships, rune-powered infrastructure, even firearms.
We've also got Elvathara, which is the nation of elves and orcs formed under the Elven Queen Navira, and our very own Throg from the Shattered God, who is now the existing god of war, which is, well, of justice now. Their union here has caused a huge divide among the elves, and a lot of the kingdoms have also started seeing their combined power as a big threat.
Corvallis is the human kingdom, and they are currently expanding their territory with a sort of imperial mindset. Leadership there is a bit in flux. Then we've got Regos, which is the Beastkin region, and also the kingdom resisting Corvallis' attempts to expand into their territory. Varkos Isles is a former pirate confederation that's seeking legitimacy.
To me, it's really easy to see the conflict between kingdoms here that could lead into a war without something like the Pact.
Just to add a little bit of context to the actual world of Aer'yndor, I want to mention the Fallen Realms. Now, like we talked in episodes 1 and 2 of Tabling the Narrative, at the end of the Shattered God, the new gods completely reformed Aer'yndor's geographical structure. When they did that, they also brought the Fallen Realms into the world itself.
We're only going to mention 3 of the Fallen Realms that are officially acknowledged within Aer'yndor right now. However, if you do want to take a look at the other Fallen Realms, they're all mapped out and listed on the website using World Anvil.
Which, by the way, this episode of Tabling the Narrative is sponsored by World Anvil.
And if you don't know what World Anvil is, I really encourage you to check it out. It's the most organized way to map out whole worlds, whether we're talking ttrpg worlds like Aer'yndor or an author's universe for a book or something else.
Right. It helps keep all of your ideas connected and cohesive. Could be actual maps or even things like timelines and character details.
If you're interested in seeing for yourself what World Anvil is all about, you can use our code GHOSTLIGHT for 51% off any yearly membership.
We put a little link at the top of the description if you want to take a look.
Okay. Let's get back to talking about the Fallen Realms that are public knowledge in Aer'yndor.
We've got the Garden as its own separate realm within the world, and the Glade too, both of which came up in the Shattered God.
Next is Agora, which is a realm of expression and art and imagination, pretty much the home to performers, bards, philosophers, and other creatives.
And again, these are just the known fallen realms, but there are suspicions that others exist.
All right. Finally, the inciting incident of Oathfyre. The original Pact Scroll, which was found in the ruins of Lunastra, is present at the Accords in Scaranthal. It's secured in a vault, protected by magical wards, and without any sign of a break-in, it disappears. The original scroll of the Pact, stolen.
In all of the panic and suspicion, and with all of the kingdoms already at each other's throats, it's our job as characters to figure out what's going on.
Meanwhile, a dark rumor in Zahareth whispers its way across the regions. 20 years ago, a temple opened, and something ancient was disturbed. Something long buried, now free. Few know its name, even fewer its nature.
This isn't just a political crisis. It's something far worse.
And this is how Oathfyre begins. Pretty ominous, don't you think? I can't wait to unravel the mystery of the Pact and what looks like something far more than what it seems.
Since we're all helping shape the story here, we need to introduce the real heart of the narrative, the cast and our characters.
Which, by the way, Oathfyre is a two-party campaign with each party playing out different parts of the story.
We'll start with the first group of our characters in our next segment of Under the Table. Please tell us your name, your preferred pronouns, and tell us where people can find you.
Hello, I'm Fargrim. I'm a dude. Where to find me? I'm on Twitch under Fargrim_the_barbarian. On YouTube, Dark Raven Voyages. Soon to be Patreon and our own website.
I'm next. Okay. Hi, I'm Jen. She, her. You can find me here and on Oathfyre for Ghostlight, group action role stuff. And then you can also find me on my own Twitch channel, Blue Phoenix RPGs, and I have a couple of YouTube channels and stuff. There should be a link tree somewhere associated with tabling the narrative. Yeah, somewhere. Lots of things. Rod.
Hey, how's it going? Aaron, but aka Immovable Rod. It's immovable.rod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and also Twitch. Oh yeah, pronouns. Yeah, he, him.
Hey Jen, my name is Sage and I use he, they pronouns. I am pretty much on every social media platform. You can find me at Story Sage, which is STORI Sage. And I stream on Twitch, mostly RPGs. I am involved in a lot of our local community ttrpgs. And I also create content surrounding or really involving mental health and just life.
Okay, so now I would like for you to tell us a little bit about your tabletop RPG history, as it were.
All right. I've been playing D&D on and off for about 10 years. The last 5 or so easily within the last 3, I've gotten serious enough to be on Twitch, met Sage, and many, many, many great friends, and have greater plans for the near future.
Nice, nice. Oh, it's my turn now. Oh gosh. Okay. I started with GURPS. I don't know if y'all know that. My dad was doing D&D a long time ago, 25 years ago. And anyways, he said I was too young for D&D, and then when I got old enough, he stopped playing D&D. So then we played GURPS instead, which is just a lot more details and everything. So did GURPS for a time. Had my first D&D game, I think it was 3.5, right after I got married to my husband with all of his brothers. And that was not a fun experience. So I didn't play anymore for a while. And then I started back, I don't know, like 12 years ago, something like that. Been playing D&D ever since. And then Daggerheart came out, found Ghosts, played Daggerheart stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've DM'd like 3 different campaigns. 2 of them were a year and a half long, I think. Yeah, that's about it. I've been in lots of games. It is your turn, Rod.
Okay, so this is going to date me a bit. But when I was in first grade, on Saturday mornings, is that still a thing? Do kids watch Saturday morning cartoons anymore?
I do.
You do well.
I did when I was a kid.
Keeping the spirit alive. Thank you, Fargrim. So there was a cartoon that came out that I loved, and it was the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. And so I'd watch it every weekend. I loved it. My parents knew I loved it. I didn't know what it was other than that. And I got just a few years later, the show was canceled. But one Christmas, I got the Dungeons and Dragons red box for my Christmas present. My parents didn't even know what D&D was. They thought it was just like a choose your own adventure book with dice. They didn't know I needed other people to play with, so I didn't get to play at all. Like, I just had this book and I was reading it for like years, literally. And then finally in the late 80s, I did manage to run into someone who knew what it was and that it was a game that you had to play like with your friends. Got into that and was playing that until mid 90s when Vampire came out, and I was playing Vampire Mage Werewolf, the World of Darkness. Kind of really consumed my time. But I've never stopped playing TTRPGs in general. I played everything. I played GURPS. I played Palladium back in the day, and I always like playing new games. Daggerheart's really exciting. But I always come back to D&D too. I love it. It's always been a big, important part of my life. I've moved around a lot, so it's been a great way to meet a lot of new people, such as your lovely selves.
I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was young. I don't remember how old I was. It was something I didn't really understand very much as a child. I didn't play it for a very, very long time. So then, just not too long ago, I ended up coming into Fargrim's community with Dark Raven Voyages, and we started the Valley of Fallen Stars. And I don't remember how long that campaign was, but I stayed for the very end until we had our finale. And that genuinely reinvigorated my love for TTRPGs. While I was still in that campaign, I started playing one-shots. And since then, I've played in very many one-shots. I've played more TTRPGs than just D&D. Things that I didn't think I would ever really do. I have created so many characters, and we most recently, of course, I was playing in the Shattered God with Group Action Roll and Ghostlight Digital Studios, and here we are again playing Oathfyre and Daggerheart, which is actually I really like comparing D&D and Daggerheart. They're so close to me. I love Daggerheart. But yeah, that's me and my little TTRPG experience.
Yay!
Yes, thank you, Jen, for that wonderful introduction to our players. We're going to talk about your characters next and a little about you and your characters. All right, so my first question, I would just like everyone to introduce your character in about 3 sentences or less, just a short introduction for us.
Fargrim first.
I am playing Geen Bugman, the king of the Verisian Sea, the voice of Varkos, captain of the Crimson Dragon, and officer of the Dreadnought Guild.
That's so many titles.
Yes. Ghost was like, come up with something like very piratey for your character. I'm like,
Cool.
okay. I'm playing a fairy ranger beast spawned so that's going to be very fun and exciting. Geen is a very interesting pirate, so to speak. Very one of his own kind.
I love that. I love the titles. It makes sense to me. Reminds me of Jack Sparrow a little bit, which is, and no, I'm excited to see how it all plays out. All right, Rod, what are you going to share with us?
What?
Oh, yeah, I
skipped
did.
me.
I'm sorry. I skipped you, Jen. Okay, Jen, we need to know.
Okay, I'll stop pouting. All right. I am playing Mist. She is an Infernus goblin. I was trying to come up with what it would be called, right? Like Infurblin, right? With that Infurblin. Do y'all like it? That's what I'm calling it, Infurblin.
Infurblin.
She's hiding, sort of. She's not really hiding, but she doesn't like to be in the spotlight, which is troublesome whenever someone's all like, hey, what's going on, anyways. So yeah, she likes to keep her path to herself. She's on a mission. Oh, she's a fist person. She's a brawler.
A fist person.
Yeah, she fights with her fist. She's a brawler. This character is completely against any of me. Like she's so mysterious and like all to herself, and it's gonna be very difficult to play her.
I like you mentioned how this character is so different from the ones that you usually play. It's one of the reasons I'm really excited to see what you do with it, because I think it's going to be a challenge for you.
That's going to be refreshing too.
It's interesting that you say that, because actually I'm coming from the same place. I'm playing something that I can't think of any time that I played anyone like this. I am human from Corvallis. I had to change from our session 0. I had to change a little bit of the backstory to make it kind of jive a little bit. But basically, his name is Shurian. He was born the 3rd son of a minor noble away from the capital. But it turned out that he is in fact the son of the ailing king, and he's the only heir. And so he has now been thrust into the position of becoming the crown prince, but his authority has not been ratified yet, and his inheritance is not assured. There are no other claimants, but there are rumors that someone might be. So he has to do something to ensure that the nobility will accept his rule. As far as personality goes, he was not expecting to have any sort of high-level responsibility, but he is in a privileged position. So he's very kind of a carouser by evening, but every morning he went for sword practice. So he is a capable warrior. The reasons that he actually does want to be king is something that he is currently keeping private.
Interesting.
But yeah, he's kind of affable. I've been trying to figure out the vibe. It was somewhere between Liam Gallagher and David Bowie. I haven't figured out exactly. I think I'm somewhere between on that spectrum, depending on who I'm talking to. So we'll see. It's been fun. I'm not going to do a full on like English accent. I'm going to do a Northern Corvallian accent.
Yes.
So nobody. So if it doesn't sound like I'm from Manchester, don't at me. Okay, like it's my own original. It's my own original accent that's sort of inspired by those two musicians that I really like.
I'm still working on mine as well. It's gonna be different than anything I've really done before.
Yeah, looking forward to
I
everyone.
also will have a voice.
Uh-oh.
Speaking of voices, I cannot decide on mine for the life of me. Oh my God. I don't know what to do. But to answer that question, I am playing M, who is a reborn goblin, which reborn I chose Ghost. For that reborn aspect. I'm also a moon witch of dread, so I'm choosing all dread cards this time around, which is going to be a challenge in in mechanics for me. But I think we have a pretty good party to kind of figure that out together. So I am a ghost. So M is a character who was originally Emerald in the one shot, the Festival of Light and Sky of group action role. And I included some of that backstory, obviously, in M's current character for Oathfyre. So M is from Ghostbreak, which is a very isolated type of mountain village completely made up of ghosts. So it's a completely ghost community. M is essentially at this point an archaeologist, kind of digging up lost treasures and things like that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I would say for introductions. There's a lot to M's character, I feel like for all of us there is, that we'll kind of get more into during the series.
All right. Sage, what's your next question?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you guys, what about your character do you personally relate to? Is there anything that you put into your character that, you know, is a part of you? And if not, you know, in what ways do you really differ from your character?
So there's, I guess, 3 or 4 things that I really relate to Gain. One of them is my free spirit. You know, my careless attitude towards the world and people in general is everything. Um, I love pirate shit. Uh, being that like roguey fighter character that also like kind of a support character is how I'm going to be playing this ranger, but also a ranged offensively, which goes into the things that I don't really play, which is ranged characters, flying characters, fairies. I was like,
Yeah.
what? And I was just like, oh, agility, and I have 4 arms, and I could be a Mothman. So, very, very different from my play style. Geen also shares the superstitious thing that I do also have in real life, where there's certain things that are sacred and there's certain things that are taboo. He sees that not only like socially, but naturally within the world, like nature and things like that. Another thing, the difference is I don't fuck around with insects like that, but Geen does.
No, I love that. Yeah, I think it's really cool to have like this such a like a bug character with a bug friend, but it makes sense with the garden. I feel like you really incorporated the garden, you know, the best that you could. Not knowing all the things that weren't shared about it in the Shattered God. I think you did great. All right, Jen, it's time.
Oh, okay. So lots of differences because I'm a very outgoing person. And she does not portray herself to be. This is definitely a mask, which I have kind of basically said since the beginning, like the whole mysterious thing. Everyone wears masks. Hers are just different than mine. As far as and she has experienced a lot more tragic things than I have. Things that are similar, and like me personally, I don't really. I mean, sure, everyone keeps stuff to themselves, but I'm pretty open to talking to people all the time, in case you didn't notice it. And I like getting close to people, getting to know them. She's not all about that anymore. Definitely not all for that. Something that is what I put of myself into her would be how much she cares, even though people probably wouldn't notice it. And this burden to protect people.
I feel like I've said this so much already, but I am just so excited in general to see how it all turns out, and how you end up playing a character like this that is so different from your personality and the way that you approach people. But I also like that alongside that you included things that are important to you, like protecting others. And I'm sure there's a lot that'll come up in the campaign as well. All right. Rod, what is your answer to our question here?
So I always try, when I come up with characters, this has been a long time since I've actually been able to be a player. So it's, in some ways it feels like a totally new experience where I can spend time doing backstory. But I do think there's always should be three-dimensional emotions. So there's kind of three operating motions that you're kind of juggling all the time. The first one for Shurian is regret. About being unprepared for this position. I think the older you get, regrets pile up, and there's nothing you can do about it, and we all have them. And how do you reconcile that, especially when the thing you could have been prepared for is happening, and the consequences are not only for you, but they're for everyone. And so how do you deal with that? How guilty do you feel about that, right? So that's one. I think the other one is more at the larger kind of social level of me personally, I've never had any kind of political authority. I've always been a very anti-authoritarian type right from the start. So this is I'm interested to see what I do with a character who does have political authority. How much of it, it's so easy to say, right? Well, if I was in charge, this is what I would do. And I would do things great. I would be so much better than that other person. But when the reality, when the rubber hits the road, so to speak, who are you? What would you actually do? I wanted to explore that. And then the third thing is that I think Shurian has a very deep inner mystical life that he does not let other people know about, because especially the reason I took, we have a very eclectic group, team 1 and team 2. I'm just on the surface, I look like just a guy. That's a normal, human guy. But actually, he actually has a lot of spirituality and mystical beliefs that he buries very deep, because the consequences of him expressing those things are too high. So that's also kind of something I wanted to explore and play with. I think there's elements, all three of those, there's elements of me that haven't been explored in this context. And so that's kind of what I wanted to bring to the table.
So how do I personally relate to my character? So Emerald in the Valley of Fallen Stars was a very, very shy kid who was afraid of getting in trouble, just wanted to really have friends and fit in, and was very excited to do that. As a kid, I was very much like that. I don't think anyone would probably know now, but I was the kid who would not even raise their hand in class because I was so nervous and I have so much anxiety. So Emerald came from that, and then having a backstory that I'm not going to share yet, but will be revealed throughout the series, developed into a person who is a little bit different than that. Like, obviously has that experience, but is no longer necessarily a shy person. May have some anxiety, but is and might like find themselves or themselves in an awkward situation, but can be awkward and be social at the same time. So I think that's one aspect that I relate. There's also just this tragic backstory involving family and community, which I relate to as well. So I guess, I mean, that's probably pretty sad to hear. Like, it's not. But I guess I relate in those kind of tragic or developmental ways to my character. Who my character is now is also like this. There's this focus on justice for M's character, and you will find out a little bit later. But this focus on justice is also something that I relate to heavily in my personal life. So there's just a lot going on there. I wish I could share more because more things will come up that I can, share about and really talk about and as things come up in the series.
And y'all might be asking yourselves, but what if you die early on and we don't get to learn all that stuff about your character? Well, that's okay, because we'll have a Tabling the Narrative episode that's specialized, like specifically pays attention to that person and their backstory that you didn't get to know.
Jen, are you dooming me to death?
No, I haven't rolled our fate dice yet.
Oh, no.
Don't put that evil on me.
I already rolled someone's death.
All right. I don't like this.
I don't either.
It's fine.
I don't either.
Don't worry. Everything's going to be great.
If you kill my bug, that's
I'm just guessing what it's going to be like, okay?
Okay.
Anyways.
For all of our characters, let's tell our audience, how did your character end up at the Accords in Scarenthil?
My crew and I arrived on my ship to do some trading, mostly of stolen goods. But I'm mostly snooping around to see who's here and who's going to listen to our claim of legitimacy of becoming a free nation.
I'm excited because you're playing something that has a little bit more. There's so much motivation there.
Yes, my character is very ambitious and motivated.
I'm curious what ambition turns into.
That was like such a deep statement that like completely threw. I wonder what ambition turns into. Do you have any idea how much weight that holds? That statement that you just said? Holy crap.
I mean, look, Oathfyre. Ghosts campaigns are transformative for characters. So that's why it makes me very curious. Like, what does ambition become in the face of whatever it is that's going to happen? Because I know Ghost. So
yeah, for real.
All right, Jen.
Okay. She is investigating a threat. Yep.
Okay.
Her duty. She doesn't share her duty with people that she doesn't know to a certain extent because it is very important and cannot be. She can't chance it going wrong. And the more people that know why she's there can increase the chances of things that are wrong happening, which leads to people not being protected.
This makes sense.
So that she is there to that.
All right, Rod. What about your character?
Yeah, I think I sort of got into it a
Yeah.
little bit in the original. Like he's very tied into the MacGuffin, I guess. But basically, yeah, his faction is there to. He's surrounded by advisors, and he is trying to uh, look at the political landscape and the foreign relations that are going to ensure. So he's going to be looking for alliances. He's going to be sussing out who's going to be a threat. Who are people who could work with, things like that. He is becoming politically savvy as time has gone by. He's been in this position for 4 or 5 years now, so it's not like he's a totally newbie to any of this. He is starting to learn, but his advisors still have not respected his political understanding, so he's got a tension with his own advisors. But also on the personal level, he is a deeply curious person, and so the chance to get outside of this human world and see just what else is out there, he's going to have trouble kind of controlling his curiosity too. He might not express it in really direct ways, but he definitely is the type of person that will engage with any of the, fascinating things that the world has to offer.
I honestly feel like that essence of curiosity could be what ends up attracting us all together. You used the word eclectic earlier, and it's so interesting to me because all of us are so different. I don't think anyone at the Accords would ever pair us together. So it makes me curious, like how that's going to end up happening. It's so cool. Anyway,
as a long-term DM, I wanted to give Ghost something to work with, and because I knew that this was going to be a thing, so I was like, I gotta help him out a little bit here, and like try and what can I do to kind of thread everybody together a little bit. So it was a good call. It was intentional.
Okay, I'm going to answer my own question. How did M end up at the Accords in Scarenthil? So, as I mentioned before in my description or introduction of M is an archaeologist of sorts. They're very interested in the ancient, the arcane, everything that is historical, lost, any treasures, items, things like that. Which actually began when they were a child and stumbled upon this crypt that they ended up finding their little pet Maxwell frog in. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But M is currently an archaeologist and is very interested in the Scroll of the Pact. So M is there to find out as much as they can about the Pact. And that's where I'm going to put it.
Please tell us your name, preferred pronouns, and tell us where people can find you.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Christian Tetro, a.k.a. Dumpy Master. He, him. You can find me online at www.linktr.e/thedumpstat. It's me. So, Diplopia Lucent, or Dipper, as they're known, is an elf with a little something extra, a little bit of a spark of something, who has been roaming around, spent some time in the garden, and is married to one of the other player characters, and they have a kid together. I look to the stars for my answers. I can read the stars, and they tell me where I need to go and what I need to do next. I wear a bunch of rusty, old, discarded things. Even my weapon is old and rust covered, but that doesn't seem to stop me from being proficient when I need to fight. I also am unnaturally beautiful and don't realize it. I have glasses on and my hair is tied back. So if I ever want to do a 90s makeover, I just take them off and I just look incredibly beautiful.
Jump scare.
It's to the point where my experience, one of them is beautiful presence.
I love it.
But,
Your presence is a present to those.
yeah, so really living the dream as a bald man to play a character that has hair.
The things you can do in make believe.
Yeah, exactly. So that's Dipper.
Well, hi, I'm Christy. I'm an animation nerd, both making and watching. Use pretty much all the animation software now. Oh, I go by she, her. Hi. If you Google Christy Hex, that's pretty much my online name for everything. You'll find me. And I work with Christian here on the Dumpstat occasionally. Also, I help him produce a lot of his material. And of course, we do the Oops Only cast together. So that's me. Samla. Raina Squall. She's going to be an elf, pretty much look like this girl here. Very practical person as far as how she dresses. She tries, to not stand out too much. And everything should have a purpose. So she's, not trying to look good. She has, pockets where she needs pockets, and her inventory is all neatly put away and tucked and organized. And she's going to probably be a blabbermouth because I'm a blabbermouth. So there's that, but also you and me both, right? We'll make some material together.
My name, you just call me Mo. I go by he, him. The Mighty Mo on all my socials. So super excited to be here. Lev is your typical giant. He does have two eyes, gray-skinned, tattooed giant. Think God of War, beard, the whole 9 yards. Him starting off, he's probably going to be some type of bodyguard of sorts and probably have to adhere to some type of uniform that he does not want to wear. But his eyes are very fiery red. As a matter of fact, one of my experiences I called it angry eyes. Bald, beard, obviously, because beards are cool. Tall.
Sure.
You're rocking a really cool one, by the way.
Thank you.
See mine.
Nice.
I don't have a beard. I'm lying.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
I got a beard, but it's not on my face.
I have a beard that I can go
Mine's
put
on my
on.
back.
And hi, I'm Zira. I go by they, them. I do not exist very much online by personal choice, but I do write the odd piece of fantasy and horror. If you ever are interested, you can normally find those in small anthologies and so on. I'm going to be playing a Fearbog Druid because I like combinations which sometimes do make sense. I'm going to be playing Meadowlark Falling, the illustrious Fearbog Druid / cartographer who has been traveling around Aer'yndor after leaving the garden after a somewhat unceremonious landing between the two realms. And Dipper and Meadowlark have been traveling together for a while now. It started with a very fun meeting and a cat being rescued from a tree when the cat was not a cat.
That definitely sounds daggerheart-esque
Yeah.
type.
For sure.
Yep.
We're married, guys.
We are
We're
married.
in love. We have a kid. It's cute.
Hey, I'm Sean, also known as Teleron Online. You can find me. I have a Twitch channel and YouTube for Teleron where I play video games occasionally, and a separate channel for doing board games or tabletop RPGs, things like that, as All Six Sides. And yeah, I will be playing Ballo. He is a he, him, same with me, actually. He, him as well. Ballo is a orc bard. Should be interesting. It seems like most of you all having just very plain clothes, not, trying to keep the attention off of you. That is not Ballo. Think German Landsknecht type clothing. Puff and slash, colorful, just fancy clothes. Actually, his spells, instead of being through a instrument, will be through a whip. I actually used to make whips, so
did you ever think of upgrading to also making chains?
I mean, I used to make chainmail.
This excites me.
And leatherworking.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I was waiting for.
Literally, I'm not joking.
Okay, so the question this time is, I would like for you to tell us a little bit about your tabletop RPG history.
I played D&D 4th edition once in college, took a really long break, and then jumped into DMing about 3.5 years ago, ran 100 sessions in a year, started doing online, started a podcast, ran 6 different games at once, learned Daggerheart, learned Call of Cthulhu. Now I'm learning Vanguard because that game looks really fun as well. And now I'm here probably about 300 sessions deep since I started. Yeah.
If you were talking about my whole nerd background, it would take hours. However, for D&D, I played my first match about 11 years ago. When I moved to Ontario about 13 years ago and started hanging out with some other geeky friends 2 years after that. And it was never consistent. You know, you'd meet up to continue a campaign, and then we wouldn't meet up again for another couple months and stuff. And I tried that with a few other groups off and on, but it lacked the consistency. So I never really got to play many games until, of course, I seen Christian's post on Facebook. And that's how him and I met. And then we just started playing a few one-shots, and we kind of got along really well. We make some pretty fun sessions together now. So ultimately, I've probably played 10 times fewer games than him. And this will be my first Daggerheart match, although it does look much simpler. And I am a very quick learner. I'll try not to be a liability.
I've been tabletop gaming since high school, which was 1 million years ago. Back, I started playing back in the early 90s with 3.5. I stopped playing for a while, and during this whole renaissance, probably about 10, 11, 12 years ago, I started playing 5th edition. As far as the games that I've been in, I've played with people all over the world. I had a regular for about 5 to 7 years, and they're still playing. And I also, at one point, DM'd D&D 5th edition about 4 games a week. So yeah, as far as, getting into playing, I've probably logged quite a bit of hours over the last couple decades. So that's my story.
I got into tabletop role-playing game in D&D 3 or 3.5, around there. It was either late 90s or early 2000s. And then after high school, I didn't really play too much until just before the pandemic, and then had started playing. And at one point, I think I had like 3 games going at once. I was DMing one and then playing in 2 others. And then joined a live stream, played that with them for 2 years, and then have been going strong, and at least trying to go strong in role-playing games since.
So I've been playing for over 10 years now. I started out in 3.5 with a small group, entertainingly enough, also in England. Over the time, this is relevant. Me and the DM both learned a lot of things about ourselves, and we started running stuff for other LGBTQ folks as much as we could. We used to run a small project called They Play, which was non-binary games made by non-binary people, played by a non-binary group, which was a lot of fun. After I moved to Canada, I've been playing pretty steadily since then, and tried out a bunch of different systems. Used to work with the Toronto LGBTQ gamers helping them DM things. And eventually, Christian allowed me to become a professional thorn in his side.
In the one that we were in together, you weren't a thorn in the side, you know.
I've been on good behavior. Largely.
Why would you do that?
So you already have told us a little bit about your characters. I'm going to ask each of you individually, and we're going to start with Christian. So I'm wondering personally, how do you as a player relate to your character, and how does that relation come into play in creating your character?
I really wanted a character that was wanting to not be tied down to one location and wanted to be able to explore around and have kind of that nomadic vibe to it. But in discovering that, why were they doing this? A lot of it was to help people. And a big part of what's led me to being where I am in my life, I was in a theater degree and I went directing. I was working at Starbucks. I went into management. I started playing D&D and I went into dungeon mastering. It's always about being this leader. But even in all of those situations, it's not about being the one in charge. It's about helping grow the people around me. So I find like a nice little relationship there.
Yeah, I find that very interesting. I think personally, like in my own experiences, especially as a creator, a content creator, writer, everything I do that is any form of creation, I'm putting some little piece of myself in there. So I was curious how that was like for you. So I'm going to ask Christy the same question. How do you personally relate to your character?
Well, this one's going to be rather simple for me. Where this is a new campaign for me, first time with daggerheart, I went with a safe character that's going to be kind of more based on my own personality. So I won't have to really stretch, because normally when I play D&D, I go a little far. Christian will probably tell you. Like I practice I practice a voice for a very long time. Like I'm a low-level voice actor. Also, I'm heavily involved in the animation industry. I just can't say what I'm involved with, sadly. But I see how they do a lot of these things. So I end up perfecting a voice, animating a character. Like it's like in part practice for me. But I also like really want to nail the character, which in part is one of the reasons why I do animate the character. You ever notice, like if you've ever done acting before, it's easier to act as a character if you look the part. Like if you're dressed like a pirate, you can act like a pirate, but if not, you feel just kind of ridiculous. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why I went with a character kind of more based on myself. She's going to be kind of a goofball, but in the same right, a bit of an assassin. So that's the basic of this character, just based on me, so I can kind of get my feet wet in daggerheart.
Was a dad. I'm a dad. I have 3 adult children, and I guess a lot of it's funny you mentioned you asked that, because I was thinking over the last few days about I've got about 190 characters. The last few of them that I've been doing lately, I've noticed that I'm trying to make the characters more protective. And I'm definitely going to be giving Lev more dad qualities, I think. I don't know, something about a good tragic backstory combined with humor. I'm drawn to things like that. Maybe it has something to do with my real life. I don't know. I don't have that much trauma, but I
did notice the was.
Well, yeah.
I don't know if anyone else noticed it.
Yeah,
I did. I definitely did.
Yeah. I've been tinkering with a little bit of a story there, and I haven't actually. Yeah, I've written it out. I haven't submitted it to anybody yet, but he was a family man, and tragedy struck, and I like a little bit of complication. He's funny, yeah, but he's probably funny for a reason.
What is he hiding?
I mean, he wears his heart on his sleeve, but I mean, as far as hiding's concerned, maybe there's stuff happening at night that you might not know of. I don't know.
Yeah. I honestly, I love all of that. It's funny that you just mentioned that and kind of focused on that dichotomy of the difference between, or rather the not conflicting, but just almost opposite side, or what should be opposite of the humor, and then the dark truths, or the trauma, or the things that have happened. And it's interesting to me because the way that you described your character in that way reminded me of someone that I know in my personal life. Someone who really keeps their heart on their sleeve, is funny as hell. Someone who is very funny, and always cracking jokes and always trying to cheer people up, but has also experienced some very dark things in their life. And I think that's something that's very human. I love personally when we are able to put our humanity and just a little bit of reality back into the fantasy. All right. I'm going to ask Toleran, I'm going to ask you the same question.
So for this character, I've actually kind of switched things up. I'm usually pretty quiet in person. But in games, I tend to play the sad, quiet boy. In a lot of the previous games. So this one, I wanted to completely switch off that. So I'm going with a bard orc, and try to push myself out of that, kind of more sitting back and being quiet.
I love that. I genuinely do. You played Dar in The Shattered God, played a very quiet type of character, who, again, had a very tragic backstory and a very tragic ending that was somehow a little bit bittersweet, for me at least. Almost cried talking to you in that interview, no kidding. So I love that too. I love how playing TTRPGs and role-playing especially pushes you outside of boundaries.
Sometimes when I'm creating a character, I'll kind of have an idea of something about myself that I want to focus on in that character, or like what I want it to help me with. Or one campaign that I had played, it was about some major changes going on in my life, and kind of wanted to play with who I was and who I should be, or who I could be, things like that. So yeah, this one, it's, I think, mainly just trying to push myself out of my comfort zone and go with a character very much not like me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it. Thank you for sharing that with us. I am going to move over to Zira. Again, I'm going to ask you the same question. What of yourself did you put into your character? How do you relate to them on a personal level?
Well, I'll admit I'll go for the simplest point first. Firbolgs are wonderful forest cryptids, and that
right.
functionally describes me to a T, as the poor undergrads who I will occasionally frighten at 3 a.m. in the woods will tell you.
Oh, no.
I spend a lot of time in my actual life chasing after wildlife, working on conservation projects, and basically doing biology in general. So playing a druid has always been a wonderful opportunity to kind of add a fantasy layer to that and explore what that would look like under different circumstances and under different planes. But with Meadowlark in particular, I've given myself a few opportunities to play with some other things as well. They're a very curious person. They follow their heart frequently to their own detriment, and they will chase whatever takes their attention for a very long time in a very long way. I have ADHD, so trying to explore how things like that can affect you in a fantasy world is also really interesting to me. And yeah, that's probably going to give us a lot of interesting moments with Meadowlark.
I'm so curious about it. I remember in session 0 of Oathfyre, we talked a bit about character connections, which, by the way, if you want to watch session 0, it's up somewhere. So we want
Right here.
it's over here. One of the things we talked about was character connections. And I remember, I think I asked you, what animal do I remind you of?
Yes.
Right. And we talked a little bit in that episode about, your interests in biology. And so, and a little bit more about how that played into, how you were building up Meadowlark at the time. So anyway, I just remember that. So I'm super excited to see what you do with it. I'm very excited in general to see everybody's characters. I'm going to miss out. Obviously, Jen and I are playing in team 1, and this is team 2, but I'm going to probably miss out on playing with you guys, but I'm hoping to be able to watch all of your episodes. So I'm just going to ask one more question that's more game oriented for Oathfyre. How did your character end up at the Accords in Scarenthal?
This would be kind of a two-parter because Zira's character would be with me as well. But Zira's character having more of a cartography background, my character following more of the stars. Both of us have our innate maps, but my character really gets pulled by the stars in a direction where they need to go. And then I kind of take Dipper's character, Meadowlark, or Apple as I call them, along with me for the ride to figure it out. But what we've been discussing is that there's something that we may have been looking for that led us in that direction. I'm not going to say too much on that because that's really going to be up to Ghost's side of things. But in general, what leads us around and moving around the place, around the world, is, oh, hey, the stars are telling me that there's going to be a problem over here that we need to solve. Apple, get your ass over here. We're going.
There's an Accord.
Oh no.
It's like, yeah,
it's a little bit.
When Ghost in his video referred to wanderers who just happened to be there.
I got you.
I came to visit one of the best centers for academic cartography across the entire realm. I don't know anything else about what's going on here. Why are there so many weird people?
That's awesome. I love that. Great context for starting there. Zira, did you want to add anything else to what Christian said?
That basically was it.
Okay.
I know why I'm here. I don't know why everyone else is here.
Yours is I'm here too.
This is very interesting. I've met some of you before. It's been a few years. Why? Are you guys interested in maps too? I can show you maps.
Okay, so Christy, I'll ask you the same question. If you know, again, it's okay if you don't have all your details put together, or if there's something you just don't want everyone to know yet until it is revealed in game. But for now, what can you tell us about how your character ended up in Scarenthal?
Well, where I am a little newer, I don't have all of it written completely yet. I do know it's going to be related to Zira and Christian, though. Our backstories are going to be somewhat intertwined, although I'm not married to them. So, very important to throw that in there. I don't want either of them getting jealous, but yeah, so that I will be probably arriving with them along the way. As for how going along with the personality, probably something to do with either security or I might have my own personal interests there. But
Cool.
That is as far as I know I'm at so far. So
thank you for sharing at least what you know. I'm excited to see what you end up coming up with in the end. So I think we're going to go back to Mo, right? You told us a little bit about your character, but why is your character at the Accords in Scarenthal in the first place? How did he end up there?
Well, I did mention just a little bit. I don't want to go too much into it as far as his, larger backstory is concerned. But as I mentioned, he is a stalwart guardian, and he'll probably be bodyguarding of some sorts. If I'm not mistaken, I think I did talk to you just before we started, tell about your character. You're going to be an advisor to
the Dwarven King.
The Dwarven King. Okay, so I might be closer involved to that because according to Ghost, he was telling me that a lot of the giants, they kind of it came from looks like from Vaelgar, if I'm not mistaken. But he's definitely from a mountainous region and definitely has a lot of interactions with dwarves. So I probably would be part of that caravan or campaign as well.
All right. So I am going to ask Tuleron, can you tell us a little bit more about how your character ended up at the Accords? You know, what is he doing there?
Well, Ballo, he spent the last 20 years at Vaelgar in the capital. He got kind of a mentor there that he's been working with, and that mentor was the advisor to the king. And something happened to him before we left for the Accords. I don't know the exact. I kind of just said like something happened to him. You choose who or what or why. And I took over that mantle, which I was going to be doing eventually. It's just sooner than I expected. So yeah, the advisor to the king of the dwarves, and am going down with them to help out with the Accords from their side.
I think that'll be interesting with the relationship, that just kind of connection with somebody who's directly going to be involved in the Accords.
Mm-hmm. I also just like the idea of an orc living amongst the dwarves.
That is kind of funny. This has been a fun episode. Well, I mean, most of it was fun, but then there's that little tidbit about the pact being stolen and something really creepy happening in the background. Yeah, I'm very excited and a little bit scared to see what comes next, but mostly excited.
Next time on Tabling the Narrative, we'll get a closer look on how the story of Oathfyre develops and take a little peek behind the screen.
Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.